Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about 5 of the worst money mistakes to make in your 20s. So the aim of this video, I wanted to talk about some of the worst mistakes that I've seen people who are quite young in their 20s specifically make quite a lot. But I also want to say that everyone's entitled to spend their money exactly how they wish, and nobody should have the right to tell them how to spend their money. So I do not want to do this in this video at all, but my goal for this video is to simply try and help some people in their 20s to identify ways they can cut costs and save money, as well as identify potential money traps to avoid in the future. So hopefully this video can help some people to save more money every month, which will lead them to a more stable financial future. So the first one on this list is buying coffee and lunch out. So a lot of people, when they're working, seem to go out on their lunch break to buy lunch or coffee, or sometimes both. And people would save a lot of money every week buying the ingredients from a supermarket and making a packed lunch at home before they go to work, and just using the office facilities to make a coffee. People don't really think twice about doing it because in their head it's only $5 a day, which doesn't seem like a lot at the time, but the problem is it does really add up over time. And if you spend £5 or $5 a day on lunch and a coffee, this is going to cost you about $25 a week, which works out to be about $100 every single month. And when you look at it like that, that is quite a lot of money to be sort of spending every single month. So when you add that up over a year, that's $1,200 every single year, which is essentially being wasted on, taking the easy and convenient option of a meal deal or a Starbucks coffee. And to put that into perspective, you could buy yourself an amazing holiday every single year for free if you cut out this habit. And a top tip that I have is to change your mindset on the easy spending. Rather than thinking of it as only spending $5, when you next buy a meal deal and a coffee, think of it as spending $1,200 every single year to have that habit. So the second thing on this list is buying designer clothes. So a lot of people seem to like to buy designer clothes in order to keep up a certain type of image or to impress certain people. So I'm not really talking about sort of like brands like Ralph Lauren or Hollister. I'm more talking about the super high-end expensive brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Less people are impressed by designer clothes than you might think, and if the people you are friends with make comments about your clothes, if they are not designer clothes, then you should probably think who you're actually being friends with, if they're going to pass comments on your clothing just because it's not super high-end. When you're in your 20s, nobody expects you to be able to comfortably afford nice clothing, but it is crazy how many people actually overspend on their clothes. And there's a big difference between being able to buy something without going into debt and being able to actually afford it. If you're spending your entire monthly salary on a Louis Vuitton duffel bag, then you can most definitely not be able to afford buying that item, even though you might actually have the money in your bank account to do it. So many people end up regretting their spending choices several years down the line, when they get bored of the clothing or when the trends change in the future. And then finally, if you're still in school or university and you're buying, or you're spending thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds on designer clothes, this probably does more bad for your image than good. And all it's going to do is make other people look at you and assume you've wasted your money on the clothes. You've wasted your student loan, or they'll think you've got rich parents that are just going to buy that clothing for you. So it probably doesn't make you look that good in the first place. So next up is expensive cars. Now, it's quite easy for a young person who's just started, a new job, just started earning money, to be tempted to buy a nice and expensive car outright or to get one on finance. And if you've got friends around you that are getting, nice cars and flashy cars, it might make you feel like you should get one too in order to fit in and to show people that you're, doing well. And after all, you can afford it if you're working. But the problem is, in reality, this is quite a bad decision, and it'll probably be one that you regret in the future, and will be one that will cost you a lot of money over the years. And this is because cars are one of the worst assets to own, as they depreciate a lot over time. And different studies have shown that, on average, brand new cars depreciate by about 15 to 20% every single year for the first few years that you own one. So, after owning a brand new car for 5 years, in general, you'll have lost about 60% of your assets, basically. So this means if you buy a brand new car for $50,000, it will only be worth $20,000 in 5 years' time. So that's going to be a big loss on your investment of about $30,000. And also getting an expensive car on finance is just as bad in many cases, as you'll still be losing a lot of money, just in the form of monthly payments rather than one lump sum. There's no doubt that a car is an essential purchase for a lot of people, but a much more financially sensible investment would be to buy a car that is 5 to 10 years old for about $5,000 roughly, give or take a little bit. The car will still be, it'll still have maintenance on it, and it will still depreciate a little bit, but the overall cost of owning a car like that will be much, much less than a brand new car. And overall, it's just in general a more financially smart investment to make. So next up is high rent payments. Now, everyone wants to live in a nice and spacious home that's in a great location, but this can come at quite a cost. So it can be a trap for young people who have just started working to rent out a luxurious apartment right in the middle of the city. They have a comfortable place to live and have all of the entertainment that they could want at their doorstep, and they can get to work in no time. But not many people think about the consequence in the long run of doing this. If you're spending upwards of 50% of your income on rent, then this might mean you can live a very good lifestyle in the present, but it's not going to give you much room to save money for your future. So if you're happy to rent for your entire life, then this is absolutely fine. But if you're wanting to save up money to get a house of your own for a deposit to put towards a house, this is going to set you back quite a lot of time. Start off by living in a smaller and less luxurious place that is a bit out of town, as this will give you more money. It will allow you to save more money. You might have to spend more time commuting to work, and you might not have all of the entertainment that you want at your doorstep. But this is going to be more sensible if you want to be looking to buy your own place in the future. And a top tip that I have is to try living with people in a flat share agreement. This can save you a lot of money, and if you're dead set on living in a really nice place in a prime location, then if you're willing to have flatmates, then you can often still do this for quite an affordable price. But you have to share with other people, but you can often get quite an affordable place in the middle of the city, if you just share with other people. And also, don't be afraid to live with your parents if it's possible. When you're young, there's not too much shame in doing this, especially if you're just straight out of uni and you haven't been working for that long. If it isn't too much of a stretch to commute to your job while living with your parents, then it's definitely a good option to go for. It will often allow you to save quite a lot of money every single month, and this can fast track you to buying your own house or your own apartment. So the final one on this list is going to university or college. So a lot of people go to university when they don't really need to go, and this is often because they're pressured into doing it by their teachers or their parents. And what they do is they pick a degree which they don't really want to do, or they don't really need to do, and they just go and sort of mess around, and this often leads to them just dropping out or getting a degree in a subject which doesn't really help them in their future career. And yeah, it wastes their time and their money. So in many cases, it might be more beneficial for a young person to do an apprenticeship or learn a trade. There's often lots of good money to be made in many trades out there which don't require a university degree to do. This can include plumbing or decorating, and you don't need to go to university to do either of those things, but there's quite a lot of good money to be made doing that. So, as a student in the UK, you're getting yourself into over £10,000 worth of debt every year that you go to university. So, a piece of advice for anyone thinking about going is to really have a good think about whether the course that they're doing is something which will not only be enjoyable for them, but also will lead them to a career later on, that will be something that they think they can do. And that is all for today's video, guys. So remember to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and like the video if you enjoyed it. And remember, this is just some tips that I've come up with myself. I'm not telling anyone how to spend their own money. People can spend their money however they want, and no one should feel bad if you're sort of guilty for any of these. Everyone makes financial mistakes, especially when they're young. So hopefully you did learn something from this video. And yeah, thanks for watching.